Hello, and welcome to ladder training with the Camden Fire Department. One of the most important things that you need to know is that before you arrive on scene, be in contact with commands. They will tell you where to park the apparatus and in what direction. It is very important that when you arrive and park the apparatus to be aware of any overhangs, low branches, or live wires that may come in contact with the truck. Now, to get ladder 1 ready for aerial operations, you go through the normal thing that you would with any engine. Put it in neutral and set the air brakes. Now, where it starts to differ is that for the ladder truck, you want to set the front wheel locks. Then, you're going to want to turn on the aerial master and the aerial PTO. Be aware that when you turn on the aerial PTO, the stabilizer alarms will sound. Next, we're going to set the wheel chocks. Now, as opposed to other engines, you want to set them on the front wheels and leave a little bit of space. This will allow the engine to settle back onto its wheels from being up on the stabilizers and not trap the chocks underneath. Then, after ensuring that all doors are closed, we go to the rear and start operating the stabilizers. Going to start by opening up all the compartments so we have full access to all the controls. At this time, it is okay to put it in the high idle in case you want to deploy it faster. For the sake of sound, we're going to keep it in the low idle. Now, when deploying the stabilizers, you want to ensure that you have a direct line of sight down to ensure that you're not interfering with anyone, hitting any object, and have a clear path out. If your apparatus is parked on a hill, so if the truck is set from one side to the other, you want to ensure that you stabilize the uphill portion first to avoid double correcting when deploying the stabilizers. You can set them simultaneously by holding them out. Then we're going to do the other side. Checking to make sure that we are clear. After this, the next step is to deploy the stabilization pads. These will ensure that when the stabilizers go down, they have a wide footprint to take the weight and have less of a chance to sink into any loose soil or mud. Be sure that when you deploy the pads, you keep the handle in a place that will not cause a tripping hazard in the future. Each plate has a label of top and bottom. Make sure that the label is facing up. Now we're going to deploy the stabilizers down. You can do it simultaneously or one at a time. For this sake, we're going to do it one at a time, starting with the front. So we're going to look down, ensure that it's clear, ensure that when the stabilizers go down, it doesn't end on a line, anyone there, or uneven surface. You want to engage it just so that it takes weight. And as it goes down, you could hear the stabilizing alarm turn off when it takes weight. Now, another thing to be aware of is you will have gauges mounted that'll tell you where the truck is in relation to level. We want to get as close to zero as possible with the knowledge that you are in an emergency. Another thing to take into consideration is the pinholes. Now, we're looking all around. What we want to see is that the pinhole is fully visible and not partially obstructed. We're going to look on both sides. And as you can tell by the front pinhole, it's slightly open. So we're going to lift that up just a little bit more so we have a full hole. Now, by doing that, we threw others out of stabilization. So we can consult the board here and see that the right rear stabilizer is now out, and we could adjust that to bring it back into stabilization. And just takes minute adjustments. So the board is showing us that all stabilizers are down. We're consulting with our level gauges and seeing that we're fairly close to zero. So now the next step is to insert the safety pins. These are located in the wells of all the stabilizers. As you can tell, it consists of a pin head, and a shoulder. Now when we put these in, we always want to go from the uphill side. That way any vibration will keep them in place. Then when we put them through, we want to ensure that the shoulder of the pin is away from the collar of the stabilizer. So if for some reason it comes down, it will land solely on the pin itself and be evenly distributed for the weight. Now that we have all the pins in and everything's all locked, we can go ahead and change it from stabilizers to aerial. This changes the hydraulic, so no longer could the stabilizers be moved while it's in aerial. Then, to avoid tampering, we'll close up all the compartments. Next, we'll head up to the top and see how that works. All right, so now we're up top on the platform. We're going to open our control panel. At this, we have the nozzle controls, we have the high idle, we have the hydraulic emergency power, and the indicator alarm. We'll go over the nozzle controls at a later time. The actual ladder controls are really straightforward and really laid out. We have up, down, right, left, in and out. Now, Before moving the ladder, you want to ensure to look around and make sure that there are no hazards anywhere. If you're going up, or if you have to swing in and there's an obstruction in the way, be sure you have a clear line of sight and path for where the ladder can go. Also, be aware that you want to operate it at a very slow speed and not do a sudden stop or sudden stop. So, first motion will always be to lift it up off of its cradle. So for this sake, we're going to turn it into high idle. And we're lifting up while keeping an eye, making sure everything's clear. And slowly engaging the lift. The lever has variable controls, so you can start slow, and the further you pull it down, the faster it goes. Just remember, you're going to have a slow stop for everything. So ease it in and ease it out. Now, when we get to certain areas, we want to work multiple controls at the same time for sake of speed. So you can operate multiple controls, such as out, turn, but a thing to be aware of is, are there any pinch points happening? Is the platform clear? Is there anything in the way that may interfere with ladder operations? Always have a plan before you deploy. Then, once everything is all done, you always want to start by retracting the ladder all the way back in. And then getting it close to straight on the ladder as you can. A good way to get it within a ballpark are these two pins, one on the platform, one on the truck body. So we're going to try and line up those pins as best we can. Now, when you want to lower the ladder down back into its cradle, you first want to get kind of close, look down the ladder. You have antennas on either side, and those will help give you a ballpark of where it needs to be. So we're going to start by lowering it most of the way down and getting it near the cradle. At this point, the emergency is over, so remember, slow is always better. Once we get it kind of close, we're going to keep checking both sides and see how it is. Looks like I need to go a little bit to the left. Gonna lower it down a little more. And then I'm going to go and check both sides to get both perspectives. If you have a partner, they can also direct you. Looks like it went a little too far to the left, going to go back to the right. Alright, it's looking good. I'm going to try lowering it down the rest of the way. Now, once you have it back set, you can turn off a high idle. Once you have it back set, you want to always double check that it is fully retracted in by giving it a little bump. And you want to make sure that the pressure is fully set down by giving it another little bump. Once you're sure of that, you can call the operation, close the door, and turn it back off to stabilizers down below. Alright, so now we're back down below. We're going to start by opening up all the panels. Then we're going to switch it back over from aerial to stabilizer. Then we're going to go around and remove all the pins. If you have a crew, or if you have personnel available, they can also go around and remove the pins. With the pins removed, we can lift the stabilizers. So you always want to look down, ensure that everything's all clear, and then pick them up. When you pick up the stabilizers, the stabilization alarm will sound again. After you pick them up, you can retract them back in. Always ensure that they're fully in on both sides. Once they are in, you can close up. You can turn off your aerial PTO and master switch. That will cause the alarms to stop blaring and be able to work in peace a little more. Then you're going to pick up the pads. Remember, they're all labeled which side's up, and reinsert them into their storage locations. Finally, you can pick up the chocks. Now you're all ready to get back to station and prepare for the next emergency.